Hello, I'm Comic Fuel, and today I'm gonna finally review Season 4. So let's begin. Season 4 follows the ending of Season 3 in the Equestria Girls movie. Twilight has her wings now, and she has to adapt to them. This is when the conflicts in Equestria get more intense now that our main character is royalty. Though technically she already was due to Shining and Cadence's marriage, but she's now got alicorn powers and all that. Let's get to the review, but first, Season 3 was a 7 out of 10, and as was Equestria Girls. Without a further ado, let's get to the review. Princess Twilight Sparkle, an awesome start to the season. We not only get introduced to a full setup of an arc, but with the six keys and all that, and we also get introduced to the Tree of Harmony, but we also get introduced to seeing cool stuff from the original Luna and Discord. It's pretty awesome. Everything that made Season 3 great makes this episode great. 10 out of 10. Castlemania. This episode starts from where the previous one left off. Twilight trying to find the keys. The episode itself is pretty cool, has a nice atmosphere, and it's a good main 6 episode. 8 out of 10. Daring Don't. I've kind of got a mixed feeling on this. You see, posthumously, this isn't a bad thing, but when it first came out, then you had the idea that Daring Do was fictional, and the appearance of Daring Do herself is meant to be Rainbow Dash portraying herself in the book. But now that we know that she looks like it, it's kind of uncanny. I mean, I'm also not a big fan of how this episode starts out. Do not go seek out a creator's house just because something was delayed. Look at me. I haven't uploaded in 3 weeks when I wrote this script, and now I haven't uploaded a seasonal review in like 6 months. But if one of you guys just found my address, and asked me when the next video is coming out, I would be pretty pissed off. And also confused because my Discord's right there. Also my X. The rest of the episode is cool, but it was mixed in the fandom for good reason, in my opinion. 6 out of 10. Flight to the Finish. This one introduces the Equestria games. I do not like Harshwinny at all. But besides that, this is your average CMC versus Diamond TR episode. It does introduce the fact that Scootaloo is disabled, though. I'll give it this an 8 out of 10. The Power Ponies. A lot of people seem not to like the Power Ponies, and this is weird new age of the internet just not liking superheroes for some reason. I feel like I need to say I liked this episode. It was charming, and it was kind of cool to see the namesakes in the superhero situation. Seriously though, what's wrong? What's with all the superhero hate lately? I mean, I've been seeing all over the internet how bad the MCU is and all that, and I'm like, bruh, what's been up with that? But anyways, 9 out of 10. I love this episode. Bats. From one controversial opinion to another, but it's not really the episode's fault. Let me explain. I was a self-proclaimed brony before I even watched the show. I was watching reviews, top 10s, and animations, and this episode was hype for me. I was like, whoa, this episode sounds awesome, but then it's not as cool as I thought it was going to be. It is still an overall good episode, and it introduced the idea of vampires in MLP, albeit a more kid-friendly version, though I prefer the blood-sucking vinyl scratch ideas. Overall, a 7 out of 10. Sorry if my rating and opinion is a little unfair. I blame the fandom, I guess. Rarity Takes Manhattan, a Friday the 13th reference. I've always noticed that. But it's one of my favorite movies in the franchise, don't at me. The episode itself is about Rarity with the sort of main 6 and a fashion episode. It's an alright episode. Coco Pomelo is cute, though. I really dislike the name change, though. Oh, it was really dumb. But anyway, 7 out of 10. Pinky's Apple Pie. This is a very adorable episode just by default. It's about Da Pong. It's a pretty homey episode, and we learn more about the Apple family, so that's a plus. It's a homey episode, and I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Rainbow Falls, an episode that continues both the Wonderbolts arc and the Equestria Games arc. It's a pretty cool episode. We get formally introduced to the Wonderbolts, and this leads into Rainbow Dash becoming a Wonderbolt in the future. On that note, there's a lot of discourse on exactly what the Wonderbolts are, whether they're just a stunt team or if they're related to the Equestrian military. My 2 cents is that they are the main brigade of the Equestrian Air Force, and Equestria has no planes that we know of, so they just use a Pegasi. Equestria is in no major wars, however, so we see them perform stunts instead. That's my take on the Wonderbolts. The episode itself is really great, 10 out of 10. Three's a crowd. In my previous Discord episode review, I gave this a 7 out of 10. Do I stand by this? Yeah, I do disagree with what I said about it not being funny. It is, though not as much. I do, of course, enjoy Discord, and I love the dynamic between Twilight and Cadence. Again, 7 out of 10. Pinky Pride, a classic. A great episode that is loved by all. Weird Al plays cheese sandwich in this, and in all of his, I believe, like 2 or 3 appearances, but I love all of them. I'll get to those when I can. However, I can tell you that Pinkie Pie Pride is a 10 out of 10. The goof off, the jokes, the adorableness of the pastel horses, everything is great. Simple Ways. It's that episode where this upper class pony falls in love with Applejack. Nothing much else to this episode. Silly Trenderhoof. Don't you know that Applejack is a lesbian? Anyway, Ways is alright. 7 out of 10. Philly Vanilli. I really enjoy this episode. We get the now famous Fluttershy back. You know, the subject of good meme. You made me. Flutter guy. I has a great scene though, not gonna lie. It's got a good moral too. 8 out of 10. Twilight Time. Hey, what time is it? It's Twilight Time! And an average episode overall, though. It's basically a butterfly effect episode where the CMC tell some about Twilight Time, then it's more and more show up until, well, it blows up. It's kind of average, but it's got its moments. It's plus a pretty adorable name, I'm not gonna lie. 6 out of 10. It ain't easy being Breezies. We get introduced to the Breezies, which were in G3, and it brings back fond memories of Season 1. Thing is introduced. And nothing else. It exists in basically this one episode. This episode wasn't even that great. The Breezies were kind of annoying, and overall it was kind of weak. 4 out of 10. Some Pony to Watch Over Me. Another more weak episode. I get the message they're trying to do, but I feel like Applejack being a helicopter sibling like that is just... I don't like it. It's kind of cute, and I get where Applejack is coming from, but come on, leave Apple Bloom alone. I guess I could get it if Applejack was like... if Apple Bloom was like 6 or something, but in the show, it's implied the CMC are more like 10 to 12 years old, which I feel is a more appropriate age for a kid to be left alone for the first time. At least a kid like Apple Bloom overall. At 6 out of 10. Mod Pie. We're finally out of the mid-episode tier. Mod Pie. I really enjoy this episode. We get introduced to the rock enthusiast known as Mod Pie. The older, I think, sister of Punk. Maud is funny because of her deadpan attitude. Pinkie is as cute as always, and it's got a good moral. 9 out of 10. For Whom the Sweetie Belle Tolls. I used to not really like this episode, but I've kind of changed my mind. It's a good episode, and I kind of get where Sweetie Belle is coming from. Even I still kind of find her mean. Also, badass Luna's appearance. As always, 7 out of 10. Leap of Faith. This is not this. This is the sequel to Super Squeezy 6000 episode. It's an okay sequel overall, though I will judge it outside of its vastly superior sibling. It's an alright episode, and I like the whole tonic thing. Potions and tonics aren't something MLP really explored enough. Alchemy. Even if this tonic was a scam, overall 8 out of 10, it was alright. Testing 1 2 3. I really enjoy this episode. It's honestly an episode that exposed me to something many people have different ways of learning, and it showed me why primary schools often fail for a lot of people. The way schools enforce learning isn't these people's learning type. And because this generation's kids are so detached from school, when they get home, they don't really learn anything, which is sad. I love this episode. It really exposed me to a whole different viewpoint on things. And we get some LP lore and a bit of creativity too. 9 out of 10. Dradia. A more slice of life episode. Rainbow wants a Rare Daring Do book, and so they need to trade a lot of things for it, such as a horseshoe and more. Pretty charming episode overall. 7 out of 10. Inspiration Manifestation. An episode that's pretty underrated. It starred the funny gag of Rarity eating ice cream when she's sad, and it shows the side of Spike I wish the show got more into. The idea that Spike is this person who assists the main six when they're down, and not just some pushover, you know? 9 out of 10. The Equestria Games. I never really understood why the Equestria Games had the Crystal Empire being a different kingdom altogether. Sure, in the same dynasty as Equestria, but that'd be like if the German Empire had their own national games, but invited the Kingdom of Romania just because the King of Romania and the German Kaiser were cousins. Overall, though, pretty warm, heartwarming episode. With a funny Spike fail moment, done right, and also basically MLP's version of the Fry Cook games from SpongeBob as well. 9 out of 10. Twilight's Kingdom. The grand finale to the season. We see the end of the chest arc, which was built up slowly. There are a few more episodes throughout the season that gave them the keys. I won't spoil them, though. It's better if you watch the season itself. Tyrek is a badass, and he fights with Twilight. I do kind of wish they kept the tree, though. I just think the tree fits more than the castle from season 5 and onwards. But 10 out of 10. Okay, here are the ratings. Season 4 had high highs and some pretty low lows. Overall, it's a pretty mixed season. Better than Season 3 in my opinion. Overall, though. I'll give it a 8 out of 10. Remember, Rox is next. See you next time, and remember to subscribe for more horror soup.